Hey everyone, Favorite Spoon here, and finally I'm back with another video. YouTube is kind of hard for me, but I'm really trying to fix it. Sometimes I get sidetracked with just a lot of work and things happening in my life in general, but I want to produce kind of information for you guys. I want to produce some valuable content and just build my brand off of being a resource. So today we're going to be talking about job postings and rates. We'll get into job postings like this in a little bit, and in general, just enjoy the gameplay, enjoy the information, and let's get into it. So, again, job postings like this, they're just kind of everywhere. I mean, most of you guys probably have seen this. We're not going to be talking about this specifically. We'll just talk about the nature of why this happens, kind of the bad more than the good that comes from this. But let's talk about what you guys need to know first. And that, as a production sound mixer, what are some rates? What are some additional fees that go into it? And this can be true to some other crew member positions out there, but I feel like the sound world is lacking with information and resource, so therefore I'm going to be focusing on that. So when we talk about rates, what are we actually talking about? We have to think about day rates and still calculate it by a per hour number. And what that means is that you're either quoting a 10-hour day or a 12-hour day. What used to be the normalized standard 12-hour day rate, now shifting into a 10-hour standard. The production or producer who is quoting you, they're not going to add the additional overtime, so it's really up to you to figure out what your number is and what your overall day rate is. And simply how to calculate that? Well, you'll target your hourly rate, and to quote a 10-hour day, you'll charge it by 11, meaning 11 overall hours, including the overtime. Or if you're quoting a 12-hour rate, you're going to be charging 14 hours. So what is that hourly rate as a sound mixer? Well, for my rate, it fluctuates. Sometimes my work can go anywhere between $35 an hour to up to $75. Some of you might be asking, why does your rate fluctuate so much? Well, in general, it's all about the client who's requesting my services and the kind of work that is being provided. So a sit-down interview for a small business might see the lowest of my rates just to be able to provide the service for them. If it's only one overhead boom mic, one recorder, and one lav mic, I mean, I'm not really keeping track of too much. There isn't really anything that can go wrong unless their location is unsuitable for audio in general. And two, you have to think, well, they can just run their own boom mic rental into a camera and call it a day, but I'd rather make sure I'm there providing an affordable cost and making sure that their sound comes out great. So when we look at my higher hourly costs, well, at $75, we're talking about managing a lot of devices across time code, client monitoring, director monitoring, maybe some camera hops out there, maybe multiple wires other than two, could be multiple boom mics, and depends on how many active channels. So this means a lot of setup time, a lot of things that can go wrong, a lot of equipment needing to be provided, and generally your experience understanding problems that might arise around that, solving any kind of logistical on-site matters, and providing a premium service with confidence that everything is going to run smoothly. Also, who your client is might impact the rate that you're going to quote them. So in general, it's just not really a game, it's just understanding about what you might charge for what kind of work. So again, what goes into your rate? Well, we're talking about experience, we're talking about your professionalism, you're talking about your network and connections, maybe you got some good referrals, and in general, we're just talking about your knowledge of how to work gear, how to work an effective running set as your crew position, and really, how do you ensure the product that's being created on set. So the next big thing as a sound mixer and or crew member is this kind of idea of kit fees, or more specifically, box kit rentals. So when we talk about job postings or applying to different kind of jobs or getting a job, if you're a sound mixer, you're charging your rate and you're charging a rental fee for your equipment, which is defined by a box kit rental. So clarifying this detail for many of these job postings and some crew members, they don't really identify or make distinct what is a box kit rental, what is a kit fee, what is the price for either of those, and why that matters. Well, It matters because of two things, and these are two very important things. One is the nature of insurance. Insurance doesn't really cover kit fees. Kit fees are more associated with upfront costs or expendable costs for things that you needed to buy out of pocket to do a specific job. So as a sound mixer, this might be something like tape or lav mounting expendables, or maybe some mounting gear that might help you for this specific job. So identifying a box kit rental for your equipment and charging that separately on your invoice is the thing you need to make sure that your equipment is being covered on set. So what that means is that really when you're being sent an offer for a job, you need to just really send in a details sheet of your equipment items, the replacement costs of the items, and how much all of it goes for. And to kind of standardize things as a sound mixer, usually our kits start off as just really a recorder, 2 wireless lav mics, and 1 active boom. As I bring my own insurance with me, I do bring my entire kit with me wherever I go. I just sometimes never get enough information. Most of the time the work I do is quick turnarounds, so I make sure I bring everything to really cover my bases. So what do box kit rentals rate look like? Well, again, that is no easy answer. It really depends on your market. It depends on the amount of resources you have in your market. So therefore, some box kit rentals might be more than others. I'm in a market where we just don't have too many resources in terms of sound recording equipment. I am nearby the biggest market here. So there is always the option to go to that market, get a rental, and come back down to my city. So I can only charge so high on my premium in terms of my kit. So when we talk about my kit, I bring a Sound Devices 633, a Show Up CM6U with an MK41 capsule on it. For indoor, for outdoor, I have the Senken CS3E. For my wireless systems, I have 2 SMWBs in A1, they're electrosonic widebands, and it's going to an SRC A1 with the wideband receiver. Again, I bring my cart, which has everything on it, but just for that sound package alone, I charge $400 flat. When we talk about adding timecode or camera hops or additional wires or client monitoring, everything comes at an a la carte style fee, and usually they're somewhere around $30 to $60 per unit, and it just gets added on to the $400 fee. So if I'm requested to bring my timecode system with my smart slate, usually I just charge an additional $70 on that, so my kit fee gets increased to $470. Honestly, it's just being transparent with your clients. For me, since I'm registered as an LLC, it's easier to communicate on behalf of a business. I have assumed overhead costs such as business-related expenses for upkeep. Therefore, I charge my equipment at a premium, and that is the same rate across the board. I don't really make deals on equipment. I don't do overall packages. Things are clarified, things are distinct. Usually, since things are distinct in that way, in the end, a box kit rental, this goes into another important topic, is that it is non-taxable income, meaning that 100% of what you charge for your box kit rental is 100% when you net. It is non-taxable income when you do your taxes. And if you're payroll on a production, they will clarify it as non-taxable income. But you need to make sure that you're identifying what you're bringing to set, clarifying that as a box kit rental, and making sure they acknowledge everything that's being brought to set and the replacement value for it. So when we take a look at the two numbers, we're talking about a rate that fluctuates anywhere between as low as maybe $650 a day to as high as $1250. Well, why do we see numbers like this and job postings like this? Here's the breakdown. In its core essence, technology across the spectrum, and this can be true for almost any industry, has made the barrier to entry, 1, more accessible, and 2, way more affordable. And there's this misconception that because technology can be cheaper, they confuse that with the means of production being cheaper. And simply, it's just not true. So as we see devices such as sound technology, camera technology, even lighting devices get more affordable, you can only get so high in quality with those items. That really translates into crew members, personnel with industry experience and knowledge of equipment and devices and workflow. And not only that, being able to effectively translate your creative concepts into reality. And that simply just cannot be done by the bare minimum entry equipment level and in general, the people who only have access and knowledge of those items to really get you what you need. What can we expect from these jobs? Most of the time, these jobs are for short films that are happening. Again, this is a very great time to be a filmmaker in general because you can get access to filming equipment when 10 years ago it was incredibly expensive to do a film. But now it's incredibly more affordable. Anyone can be filmmakers, and I believe we're in this time where we're seeing a lot more creativity, we're seeing a lot more storytelling in general. And that translates to a lot of short films being done. But this does not translate to making it in the industry. Really, you still have to understand your industry practices, your ability to distribute, ability to fund projects, and your ability to appropriately pay for certain needs that correlate with production costs in general. It's a big risk to do a short film without insurance, and I see it happening everywhere. Again, it is a good time to be a creative. In that sense, it's kind of a bad time to be a freelancer. But when we talk about actual paying clients and why these rates exist, well, again, with the pre-contextual knowledge of the core basis and the problem, we're seeing producers, new video departments at companies, and department heads really not understanding the industry practices and knowledge of how all of it works. And from my experience, when I have been job searching and applying to these new job positions and openings, it really is easy to tell that these companies simply do not know what they're doing when it comes to video production in general. It's not as simple as just getting a camera, getting a mic, and recording. It has a lot of knowledge that goes into pre-production, into execution, and post-production. One person cannot do everything, and a lot of these companies believe that one person can. It's very important to identify that what a one-person crew can do versus a team of 3 people versus a team of 20 people. It just has a lot of different nuances to it. So the terrible things that come out of these postings, especially when we talk about these vertical drama series, I mean, in general, the idea of these vertical drama series are giant companies like Real Short who make millions and millions, if not maybe $1 billion a year, creating vast amount of content throughout the year, getting subscriptions and getting money by paywalls. And in the end, it translates to an on-set sound mixer rate of, I've been quoted multiple times, $400 a day. And we're talking about a cast needing 4 active wireless mics at a time. We're talking about time code needs for a quick turnaround post environment. And sometimes we're talking about directors' feeds and client feeds. And the rate alone doesn't even pay for equipment. So why does this continue to happen? Well, the breakdown behind the scenes really is that the producers only are given a set amount of budget, and they get bids from production companies across the nation who are willing to do these at such cheap costs. And that, unfortunately, is forward to freelancers. All freelancers have to do is say, unfortunately, that job doesn't cover my fees, it doesn't cover my overhead, it doesn't even cover my equipment. Sorry, I can't do it. But since work across the board is so sparse, freelancers are willing to take these jobs because it just translates to a steady income. And for those of you who need the income, definitely take those jobs. I'm not asking you to avoid them. I'm not asking you to not take them. I'm just asking you to understand what the outcome is of these happening and these jobs being filled. One, it creates a race to the bottom effect. Nobody likes that idea where these producers will continue to offer these rates. I've been asked the same rate for over the last 4 projects. Generally, there is no reason why the rate shouldn't increase per project. You know, if this is an understanding, it's an investment idea, we are looking to do the first projects at low production overhead, we'll increase the necessities of the budget, but it just never ends up being that way. And alternatively, if you're booked for 2 weeks and there's another more appropriate paying client that's entering your market and you're not available for that, they're 1, taking a risk on another crew member, or 2, going to some other market to be able to fill their production needs. And that's just not good in general. In order to promote a healthy video production market, you need to be available for solid paying clients out there and reflecting the appropriate associated costs with doing those jobs. When is it okay to really look at these jobs and not really consider the price points? Again, it's all about your experience and all about building your career. If you think you're gonna get 1, great connections, 2, a great time in terms of experience and in learning set flows, and in a sense, min-maxing your workflow professionally, definitely take those jobs. It's all about repetition. It's all about encountering unique problems that each set can give you and overcoming them and projecting your career that much further. To kind of conclude this video, this crazy thing happens. People start actually paying you what you think you're worth and coming back because you are a good crew member. You know your stuff, you know your devices, you can accomplish anything that they ask for, and that's always the right price to pay. As always, I'll see you on the next one.